Hi, everyone. Welcome to Membership Voice. I'm Kero O'Shea, the coordinator of The Voice and the host for today's webinar. Special welcome to today's presenter, past Governor Michael Buckeridge, a member of the regional membership team, or A-team for short, responsible for supporting the development of new clubs in Zone 8. Hi, Michael. How are you?
I am really good, Kero, and glad to be here.
Excellent. It's important at this stage to acknowledge the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm hosting today's webinar. I acknowledge the strength of their continuing culture and offer my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. And now for today's presentation. Keen to hear from this one because it's got a couple of very, very powerful messages. How we've grown Rotary in Mackay, to be presented by past Governor Michael Buckeridge. Over to you, please, Michael.
Thank you, Kero. Well, I guess first of all, I should say something about me. Karen and I have been married for 45 years, 3 sons. They're all married with their own houses and careers, 3 grandsons. And between the 3 sons, we've got 2 dogs and a cat, would you believe? I worked in the electricity industry in Queensland for 41 years. I was in Apex for 9 years, and I joined Mackay Rotary Club in 2004. So I guess Rotary's given me a lot. So I just have a chat about that, I suppose. Well, I've been overseas on Rotary projects to Vanuatu, Cambodia, and the Solomon Islands. Been to 8 Rotary International Conventions. I was lucky enough to receive 4 Paul Harris Fellowship Awards, and Karen's got one as well. We're both Rotary Foundation Bequest Society members, and as you said, I was a district governor at one stage. And at the moment, it's a glorious job. I sit on the board of Australian Rotary Health, and I'm the ARH National Lift the Lid Walk Chair as well. So, and as you mentioned, I was lucky enough to be asked by PDG Andy to be part of the Zone 8 regionalisation membership team and to work on trying to form new clubs. I've got a little bit of experience around that. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good. But really, forming new clubs is the way to save Rotary in Australia and New Zealand, I believe. I think a good thing to do is to show an example of what you can do. And that's why I thought I'd pick the Mackay Club, or what we've been doing in that club to try and make it bigger and stronger and whatever. So I'll just launch into that, if you don't mind. So other clubs can do this as well. They just need the energy and they need to do the work. They also need a club champion, because this particular mechanism, it all comes from inside the club. So, and nothing about increasing membership is easy. It needs time, money, and resources. If it was easy, we wouldn't be losing 5,000 Rotarians every year in Zone 8. So it's not easy. So I'll just throw up a bit of a thing about here. So this is Mackay Club as it was. So we're just about 100 years old and we're dying, or we were dying. Our average age is about 65 to 70. We're down to about 31 members, but only getting about 15 of those to meetings. Very traditional club. Meets every Tuesday night, have a meal, guest speaker, do some toasts. Couldn't attract younger members. And the thing is, we didn't want to change. I didn't want to change. I love my club. So what do you do? So the thing about Mackay Club is it's got great management skills. So the board come up with a plan, and our club had really great bones. So we use MS365. We've got websites. We're really good at all that governance stuff. We got money. We do projects. So I guess we wanted to leverage the unfair advantages we had, but we didn't want to change. So we had to figure out, what did we really need? And when it all boiled down, what we really need was just Rotary arms and legs to do more good stuff. That's what we needed. So we thought we'd try 2 things. Try and build a satellite club that's different from us and to attract new members. And we'll do a really big project that gets some recognition in the community and gives us some new members. So let me have a chat about the satellite club. If you're thinking of doing this, and I'm going to recommend this as in my position here as the membership team, you have to do some things. You really got to sell it to your members. So when your membership's failing, it seems strange that the solution is to go out and create a new club. So you'll get pushback from your members. And this was a very interesting meeting. So where members are telling me, why can't they just join us? That's what they said. They'll just steal our members. I said that. There's already 9 Rotary clubs in Mackay. I said that. So this was a long conversation. We had some people along to help us try and sway the club. But once the club agreed, we had formed a committee, as you do, but we had to do some things. We had to make sure our bylaws suited a satellite club. And we also needed to set up a club so it sort of removed all the friction for anybody who wanted to join it. So how did we go about doing this? We just followed the plan that Rotary International has. They've got a document on how to do this. We found them a great venue, a large industrial area in Mackay, and we did the hard work. We knocked on doors and we did all the hard work. We worked at this as if our club's life depended on it, and it did.
This is obviously an area of concern for those who might be new to this club building project. So when you say you brought in an external expert, where did you get who was your external expert?
That was PDG Andy. We brought
right.
him, and so we did 2 things with him. We flew him in for a while, for a weekend or so, and we got him to talk to our club, first of all, just so that we could go through with the club. Andy is very good at this stuff, so he sold it to our club. We had all these club members saying, bringing up all these issues. Would you believe when someone comes from outside your club, they are treated with a lot more respect or their opinion than if you're inside the club? So,
yes.
So he was an outside person who'd created clubs and done all that stuff. So he came to our club, and then we had a number of meetings lined up for him. So we've had our committee running before, and Andy was on some of the video conferences we had, and we had a string of people or businesses lined up that we're going to take him to attack and then talk about that. And we also had so what we did, go to Facebook, advertise on Facebook of the people, out in the community, say, come along and attend this interest meeting that we're going to have. And we're lucky we've got this Resource Centre of Excellence in Mackay. It's a huge mining complex, and they are more than happy to have us come along and have meetings there. So we had that venue. We had prepared flyers and stuck them out everywhere. Then we had a number of people who we had lined up, and this was from a couple of different sources. And like Rotary will give you a list of all the Rotarians who have left in your part of the world, and you can go through that, look at the ages and whatever, and you can try and pinpoint them and see if they're still interested in coming and joining a different model of club. So that's what we did. And we actually targeted a bit. This satellite club is all managers. It's all and people in the management stream. It's 50% female, 50% male, and they are high profile. So we went to the council. We got 2 councillors. We got our Mackay Member of Parliament on it. And so we've got our representatives from the federal electorate as well. So those 2 are opposing political views, but we've got councillors, and we've got our member for our state member, and we've got representatives from the federal members on this. So that's a powerful combination straight up. Then we got the manager of RIN. RIN is the Resource Industry Network, and he's got 500 resource companies that he deals with and supports. So we got them along as well. Had the president of the Chamber of Commerce come along. So we've got a lot of we were selective in what we picked, right? So we've got a lot of very busy, very influential people on the club, in the club. That makes sense. So that's sort of how we went about it. But really, it's laid out. It's laid out for you in the IR document of how to form a new club. And I guess that's one of the beauties of my team. We can help. So we've got resources. We've got people who've done this sort of stuff, and we're available to help, and we'd love to help.
Super. You're the Andy for the story for Western Australia.
Well, I think so. But I have those resources myself inside my own group. So we have experts who are much better at doing certain things than I am, and we will use them. And I think that's one of what happens when we lose members, we lose skills. So poor old districts now, they try to run everything themselves, but they're starting to lose all these skills. But if you can tap into Australia and New Zealand, you can pick the eyes out of the whole Rotary Zone 8 to try and do something. And that's what the regionalisation project is allowing us to do. Yeah.
It is. No, that's great. That's great. So here's the question. You've said specifically that none of the new members were existing members of a Rotary Club.
Correct.
If we're running a member-centric Rotary, where members are central to the experience, does that matter? Because if we help a person find a better Rotary experience, surely the old idea of poaching and all that sort of stuff has gone out the window if we're being member-centric.
I guess it doesn't bother me if someone moved to this new club, but it just didn't happen. We just so there was 3 members who were actually previous Rotary members who had left their clubs, so we got those in as well. It's one of the really important things you've got to do is it's not just forming the satellite club, it's maintaining the satellite club. So you've got to have a really strong connection, and that's got to go on for years. Like these people have gone off and they've done a lot of projects, they've done things and whatever, but they have not. A lot of them have no understanding of how big Rotary is, and what you can do with Rotary. So you have to have someone. So 2 things. One is Mackay Club was really concerned that if we had someone in there, we would turn it into another Mackay Club, and that would fail. So we're really hands off, but we try and prompt them to do so. Like, you can't buy machine guns, you can't sell drugs. It's just the common Rotary things that you can do and you can't do, and there's some rules around that or what you'll do, and they're not aware of all those things. They're not aware of the benefits you can get from being in a big Rotary organisation. So they've they got a grant to run an Australia Day event, and they invited all the Rotary clubs to that. So this is a large community, and it got all the power of all the They've run lift the lid walks, and that's invited all the Rotary clubs to it. So they're not only focused on doing things within their own club, which they are doing, they are inviting all the other Rotary clubs to come and help them and do their projects. So it's probably a bit of a different way, a different view of the thing, I suppose. And the interesting thing is they don't fundraise. They don't have to. They've got the skills to go for grants and raise all the money that way.
Okay, a question then about Rotary education and learning. We've, with some small success, looked at things like the Rotary Leadership Institute and the Rotary Learning Centre as tools to develop new members, to give them that understanding of this magnificent, huge movement called Rotary. Are you doing anything with things like RLI to develop these new people, help develop these new people?
One of the interesting things about this is that these people are all flat out. So they want to, and their companies want to support the community, but they've got bugger all time. So yes, we made that all available to them, showed them they can do all these things and they do all that sort of stuff. Do they take advantage of it? Not really. So we go along for that. That's why the beauty of the mentor is you can go along and you can talk to them and say, look, you can do this. And they communicate all by WhatsApp. They don't do emails. That's how they communicate in this group. It's really interesting, the way they run. But we bring them along to Mackay Club meetings occasionally when we have something interesting on, or we do a vocational visit. Come along and do this. So they come and join us. And this has been progressing for a couple of years now. And lo and behold, all by themselves, they decided, why don't we have some strategic direction, and you say, you're thinking like you should be starting to, and these are all business people. They all know about this stuff, but it's not us. We're reluctant to force down their throat what we think they should be doing. So, but they come to the decisions themselves of where they should go. They're completely different than what Mackay Club is. And we've just let them evolve. We just let them do their own thing. And sometimes it's you sit in the chair at these meetings and think, oh God, but really and truly, it all works out pretty well in the end. So the Mackay Corporate Club, the satellite club, they're a completely different model than the Mackay Club. They meet once a month at 7 a.m. in the morning for 1 hour. They have a chat and then they talk about their projects. They meet once a month for a social, and sometimes they just join up with Mackay Club. They don't fundraise. They fund all their projects through grants. They're actually a subcommittee of Mackay Club. They don't even have their own bank account. They use Mackay Club's bank account. They have a chair and a secretary, and they help out Mackay Club, and they attend some of our more interesting meetings, and we do have some of those. Oops. So an important point, though, it's interesting that they don't really want to become a real Rotary Club. We asked them, do you want to form a real Rotary Club? There's just too much overhead for them, and at that stage of their lives, too much friction for them to do that. They're happy to be a subcommittee of Mackay Club. The Mackay Club's happy with that, and that probably really was our cunning plan at the beginning. But they do need strong support from Mackay Club to survive. We have a Mackay Club mentor that is committed to attending all their meetings for the first 3 years. That's a big commitment, but you really have to do the work. So the second thing that we did, we completed a really big community project. This is, again, we wanted to leverage our unfair advantages. So how do we fund it? Rotary Foundation funded it. Gave us $142,000 to run this project. So what do we do? Well, if you want to find out what to do, you complete a foundation community needs assessment. And that tells you what you need to do. And how do you run it? Well, you just use your Rotary contacts to run it. So we brought 13 Timor-Leste midwives to Mackay, and they studied for 5 years at 5 weeks at CQU to increase their skills, and then went back home again. And that saved mothers and babies in Timor-Leste. It was really a great project. This partnered us with a lot of other organisations. So every Rotary Club in Mackay was involved. We were out in the community, and we worked really hard.
There are two prongs to this presentation that are absolutely brilliant. This is the second one. It says what you did, and you got some great outcomes. Tell me more about how this project brought new participants into your club.
So because it was such a, so let's think about this. So we utilised our district. So our district's got Timor-Leste in it as well. So and you utilise our Rotary Foundation. So we did a needs assessment over in Timor, and then we decided what we needed to do. Their rates of death of birthing mothers and babies was just horrific. And so we could fix that. So we could do that by giving the certain midwives more training. So we brought them to Mackay for 5 weeks. So that meant we had to partner with CQU. So CQU were pretty nervous about trying to run this sort of program, but we had one of the blokes from my club is actually one of the nursing lecturers at CQU. And we were lucky to have, from Darwin, to have one of a midwife who spent 2.5 years, Belinda, who spent 2.5 years in Timor-Leste. So she came down and worked with CQU to educate these stuff. So, but aside from that, we had all these Rotary clubs. So the accommodation they had was at CQU accommodation, but where they were studying was a different spot. So we had a bus to bus them forward and back forward. So we had bus rosters. And then outside of their study time at CQU, we would take them different places. So a Rotary Club would pick them up and take them for an evening somewhere, on the weekend, take them for an excursion somewhere. So there's 9 Rotary Clubs in Mackay, and they were all involved in doing this. So that just got our name out amongst a whole group of people, and everybody was feeling pretty good about this project in the end. And then what happened was the manager of the accommodation complex at CQU says, I'll join your club, because she was heavily involved in these midwives. then she's dragged in another gentleman who's actually he's another lecturer at CQU, so he's come in to our club. So we've just people who have touched us, been touched. So one of the ladies, this is one of the disappointing stories, but one of the clubs in Mackay is just starting to fall over, and the lady one of the ladies there was actually running this project, for helping us run this project. So she's transferred to Mackay Club. So these people haven't come to the corporate club, they've come to Mackay Club. So this is the second prong, if you like, of it started to make Mackay Club bigger. So these were the two avenues, I guess, that we pursued that we thought would improve our club. Making the satellite club, big project to get a lot of interest, community interest, and try and drag other people into the club. Not necessarily having membership nights, whatever, but doing the projects, them seeing what we can do. That was the result. And the numbers speak for themselves, I think.
So, to sum that up, your club used that wonderful, I call it a secret weapon, but given our association with peace, people have said that's the wrong word. So our unfair advantage, which is the Rotary Foundation, you've utilised that beautifully to connect with community, save lives and save and improve lives in Timor-Leste, and extend Rotary services to the Mackay community, all through one project.
That's exactly, and it's an unfair advantage. You've got to, I think when you chat about these things, it's great to talk, but what really counts is the results. So in 2020, we were 31 members and we were shrinking. 2023, we're 52 members and we're growing. We're amongst one of the biggest clubs in the district. When you get bigger, when the club gets bigger, just everything gets easier. Your sphere of influence grows, your people grow, the jobs you have to do are less. It's just a better experience when you get bigger. So some other important stuff. To do this, you have to plan. And you've got to be prepared to really do hard work over a long term. So your new members, they're out there. They just are different, that's all. And they won't come to the older clubs. So I've seen some new club failures in my time, and we've got to learn from those things. But the regionalisation project has allowed Rotary to bring together a specialist team from all over Australia and New Zealand. And these regional council teams want to help the clubs, help the community of clubs, the community leaders in the districts to achieve their goals. So we're here to help. You just have to talk to us. That's all. That's about 10 minutes. Caro, I reckon that's enough of me talking. Yep.
No, that is great work, mate. Absolutely fantastic and a great presentation. But I do have some more questions for you. Okay, here's a question. One of the things that we've seen from all, it's a trend throughout the Membership Voice Best Practice series, that when clubs are succeeding, when they're growing, when people are really having a buzz, enjoying it all, you see this other trend emerging again, where people, especially your new members, bring their friends along. And you have this other stream of members introducing their friends, heaven forbid. Are you seeing much of that?
Yes, we are. So once the club gets bigger, like I said, everything becomes easier. Like you seem to attract members. You seem to be able to easily do the things that were like, we have a progression of presidents now. We have the president, president-elect, and president nominee. We have that lined up, sort of thing. You know, lots of things just seem to become easier than what they were when you were down to 31 members with 15 showing up at meetings, probably 5, 10 want to put up their hands to do something. You know, it just gets bigger and bigger. And we've got really good bones. Like I said, the club's is really strong in its structure and what it can do and all that sort of stuff. So yes, it makes it once you're bigger, it's easier, which is a terrible thing to say for a club that's got 15 members, because I don't think I would recommend a club of 15 members trying to start a satellite club, because it really is hard work. Like my club put in a lot of effort to make that satellite work, and they still are. So it's not for the faint-hearted. It's not and it goes on for a long time. So I think all the way through the slide, I was saying, and we did the hard work, and we did the hard work. The bad experiences I've been involved in is that creating new clubs that haven't been as successful. And a lot of that, like we have some really dynamic people in my district who have created new clubs. And they've gone out and built a new club. Trouble is, like, old clubs are struggling to survive. So if you build a new club and you don't provide it with the support it requires over a long period of time, it'll die faster than an old club because it just hasn't got the structures involved. And so that occurs with satellite clubs. If you build a satellite club and then you set it free and you don't give it the support it needs, it will die. Like Rotary Club, we've got a Rotary Club in Mackay that's sort of been ignored, and it's slowly deteriorating as well. So it's just, I think it's a really good point to make that if you want to grow and you want to get bigger and you want to make new clubs, there's more to it than just building the club.
Yeah, so there is a maintenance job. I mean, one of the things that I've added to our proposed policy, local policy, if you like, on this is that we're not going to go into the process of starting a new club unless we've got a 3-year plan for it.
I agree completely.
The thinking is that, okay, you kick off with 20 in the first year. If you're not aiming for 40 by year 3, you're going to go backwards because clubs are either growing or they're declining. There's no flat line.
And this is a problem, I believe, with our model that we have, the old 100-year-old district model that we have. Now our districts are getting smaller. Our knowledge base is getting smaller. And so we don't have, the district is trying to survive itself, and it's trying to keep a whole heap of clubs alive. If it's got a brand new club, it's being inundated with problems from older clubs. It just doesn't have the time or the resources to try and support that other club. So I think, I guess in our district, I've seen it come a couple of times where the new clubs are struggling, and I believe it's because they just aren't supported properly. It's not an easy thing to do. Like I said, it's hard work. That's why I like the model of the satellite club and Mackay Club, because we are really close to this satellite club, and so we see them, we work with them, we do all these things, so that seems to work.
Fantastic. Okay, we've had some interesting, not you and I, but broadly, there've been some interesting conversations about the impact of leadership or lack of it across our movement. What part has good leadership played in this in these projects, that both prongs?
So I guess it's the old structure of Mackay Club, right? Mackay Club can run projects, so it's got a lot of management skills about it. So as you may have seen, when we start a project, we will set up some tasks and we'll do all these things that try and manage the project for us. And so if you've got people who are used to running around inside companies doing things and whatever, this is not unusual. This is just straight project management. So doing that foundation project, that's just straight project management. Cost, quality, scope, and time. It's stuff you used to do when you worked, probably. It was what bread and butter stuff. If you didn't do these things, you didn't do these plans, you didn't survive. So you've got to have some skills, I think, to make these things operate properly. They just, without a plan, well, you got a dream, haven't you?
Absolutely. Okay, looking at planning, one of the other things that we've seen with successful periods, the good clubs, because we're always mindful of the fact that things will go well while you're doing the things that work. But if you go back to the old, sort of free-form mode, it's easy for things to come unstuck. How does Mackay manage, say, a leadership continuity, strategic continuity? I mean, districts do it by some better than others by the G train. How does the presidential sequence at Mackay fit in with all that leadership thing?
So like I said, at the moment we've got a president, president-elect, and president nominee. So we've got that in place, I suppose, to do things. The problem is, I suppose, at the moment, Mackay Club is fairly successful. So you're successful, you get complacent. So we probably haven't got the big thing that we're going to do next. So we probably need to think about that. So all these things are living things, I suppose. So, we've got a fairly dynamic president at the moment who's doing lots of things and community things and whatever, and which attract other people, and which is all good. That's all good. We do lots of projects, and the corporate club is doing great things. Like at the moment, it's just built these 2 lockers, mobile lockers for the homeless. So it's got these things are weatherproof. They live outside. They give them to the centre that provides breakfast to these homeless people, and they can lock their belongings up into it, and they're safe, sort of thing. So this is a thing that's come through the councillors on that. They said, this is a good idea. I saw this in Launceston. And then Resource Industry Network, it's got all these engineering firms and whatever, and one of those built the basis for it. And we got a couple of grant submissions in, got the grants, got one from the district designated grants, so got all the money, and the corporate club will assemble it. So I guess that they're doing projects, they're doing things and whatever. So that's all, it gets them out in the community, it's all good. But I believe, we probably need to have a rethink about where we are, because it's easy to get complacent, I think.
Yeah, you've had two remarkable successes. It's easy. One of the things I have noticed from time to time with the clubs is that, okay, we've done the hard works, now we can just sort of freewheel because it's all downhill from here. And when if that happens and it starts to come unstuck a bit, that can take a little bit of recovery.
Yes, that's right. And that's where we ended up at 31 members, because, the club was, it had a lot of dynamic people in it, but all those people retired, all those people are traveling the world and doing things. So it slowly turns into a social club instead of a service club, which, like I said, I like my club. I think I have a great time going to my club, but you can see it starting to whittle away. And I guess it's the board that drove it, sort of thing, even though we had to sell it to the members and things. But I think it's been very successful anyway.
It has, and well done with that. Perhaps just a couple more questions, and one comes from the writings of your A-team colleague, Mark Huddleston, where he's talked about the importance of clubs, and he uses the square peg in a round hole sort of thing. The importance of clubs are changing to adapt to the needs of members. How is Mackay managing that?
So we are different than we were 30 years ago. So, no singing of songs, no whatever. There are things in the old club structure that I really like. Like I like coming along and listening to some expert come along and tell me about what's going on in Mackay. So we don't want to get rid of that. And because now we're bigger, we have more connections, so we can get interesting people along to talk to us. So that's good. We like doing that. We still toast Australia and we toast Rotary, and I don't mind that either. So I guess we have changed. We've evolved, but not much. And it's very difficult to change a 100-year-old club by a significant amount. And do you want to? Is the thing, I suppose. Do you really want to change?
No worries. Thank you for that. One last question. I ask this of all of the subject matter experts that we have on, and that's Michael Buckeridge, past Governor Michael Buckeridge. Why are you in Rotary?
I think it enriches your soul. You don't get wealthy in Rotary. You definitely don't make money in Rotary. But like, I've retired, so I've got all these skills. Well, I believe I've got skills that are useful, and I can use all those skills that I used in my working career in Rotary. You have to say yes, though. You have to, do that. But I've probably grown up like that anyway, so it's very rewarding to me. I meet you, Karen, so there you go. So I'm meeting all these interesting people, and I guess I think it's important to say yes, and if you say yes, then you get rewarded. Well, I get rewards, not monetary rewards, but I get rewards.
Fantastic. Michael, that's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you.